All right, so my third and final time at the podium is to introduce Chuck Long as our speaker. And Chuck said that it would be sufficient to just say, here's Chuck. But I have to do something a little bit more than that, because I know when we were talking about this program, there were some folks who said, who is Chuck Long? So I've pulled this off the internet. It's short, but Chuck, you can go ahead and correct things if necessary. Chuck is the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Iowa Sports Foundation, which runs the Iowa Games, Live Healthy Iowa, Adaptive Sports Iowa, and Iowa Senior Games. He's a former University of Iowa and NFL quarterback, football coach, and current Big Ten Network announcer. In this area of the country, Chuck is a legend. As a runner-up for the Heisman Trophy in 1985, Chuck is regarded by many Hawkeye fans as one of the greatest football players ever to play at the University of Iowa. Among other things, he's remembered as a quarterback who held every passing record at Iowa except one when he graduated. He was the first Big Ten player and the second player in college football history to throw for more than 10,000 yards in a career. He's the only collegiate player ever to participate in 5 bowl games. Chuck and his wife Lisa have 3 daughters and 2 sons. His football career and life of leadership are chronicled in the biography, Chuck Long, Destined for Greatness. Chuck shares his love of healthy living and active lifestyles with the Iowa Food and Family Project, whether it's volunteering at the Iowa State Fair, speaking to audiences like Rotary, participating in farm tours, or strengthening the partnership with Live Healthy Iowa. Chuck is an advocate for the relationship between healthy living, active lifestyles, and wholesome diets. Chuck, welcome.
Real life, Gene, you get one wish. What do you want? I want to live forever. Gene says, I can't do that. I can't make you live forever. Do you have another wish? He goes, yeah. I want to die the day after Iowa State football wins the national championship. Gene says, you tricky son of a gun. Any Cyclones in here? Oh, I'm sorry I picked on you a little bit today. You guys can take it though, right? Hawkeyes, raise your hand. There's bound to be a Hawkeye crowd over here on this side. Who am I missing? Is there a Husker in here? Okay, good. How about an Illinois fighting Illini? Sometimes I get a feel, oh, we got an Illini. Well, this guy dies and goes to heaven. And he's standing in line, he gets up to the line, and St. Peter says, what's your name? And he gives him his name, and he looks on his list, and he goes, okay, you can go to heaven. You know, you're not going to hell, you can go to heaven. And the guy says, oh, phew, thank you. But you know what, St. Peter, can you do me a favor? Can I go see what hell's like? I might have a few friends down there too I want to say hi to. St. Peter goes, okay, here's the deal. We got to put you in a bubble, get you down there for 2 minutes because it's scorching hot down there. We got to get you right back up before you melt. The guy says, okay. So they put him in the bubble, they go down. It's frozen. It's like a frozen tundra. Icicles everywhere, no sign of life. 2 minutes later, he goes back up. St. Peter goes, how was it? How hot was it down there? He goes, it wasn't hot at all. It was frozen. It was like Antarctica. Icicles everywhere, no sign of life. St. Peter scratches his head. He goes, I guess the fighting Illini didn't win a football national championship. I had to pick on you, sir. You're the only one in here. Anyway, thanks for being a good sport. Great to be here in Muscatine. I've been here several times. We actually, and I'll get into this in a minute, but Tantera is one of our sponsors for the Children's Therapy Center. So we've been here a few times. It's a great town, great community. I know John Carver and Marcia, of course, from the Carver family, got to know them, and of course the Carvers give tremendously to the University of Iowa every year, as you guys know. But it's great to be here. I want to introduce a special guest, Angie Peterson. Angie and I were classmates at the University of Iowa. She's originally from Cedar Rapids, and we got to know each other at Iowa. And she is the CEO and president of the Children's Therapy Center of the Quad Cities. And basically, it's what we do is we raise money for kids with physical or mental disabilities, and from about birth till 9 years old, and raise money for therapy sessions for them primarily. She just took over a couple of years ago as a CEO. She's been a long-time board member since 1994. And 21 years ago, she came to me with an idea. I was actually coaching in Iowa at the time under Hayden Fry. And she came to me with an idea of the sports auction to raise money for these kids. And I jumped on right away. I have a brother who was born with cerebral palsy, so I wanted to be a part of that. And it was really ideal for me because I was raised in Illinois and I love Iowa. I consider myself an Iowan now. So the Quad Cities really made sense for me because I have an affinity for both states. And so 21 years ago, she came to me with this idea about getting this sports auction off the ground and up and running to raise money. Well, we started off 21 years ago. I think we raised $15,000. This past year, we raised over $150,000. And we raised well over $1 million in 21 years. So we're really excited where it's gone. And to be quite honest, I didn't think it was going to go that long. I thought maybe it had a shelf life for 6, 7, 8 years, but it's gone 21. And with her direction, her taking over, it's really gone to a new level. If you're interested in knowing more about that sports auction or any other programs that she runs, and there's several, she'd be happy to talk to you afterwards. She can give you a card if you want to make a donation, or if you're interested in coming down to the auction. It's March 2nd. It's always the first weekend in March. It's a full house. It's a party wrapped around an auction. It's a lot of fun. A lot of great memorabilia there and auction items. We have live auction, silent auction. We have a great meal. We have great entertainment. It's really a lot of fun. And we have it at Jubers across the river. So if you're interested in that, talk to Angie a little bit further. I'm very proud of it. I've been part of it for 21 years, and I'm proud to have an auction in my name. They do all the work. I just lend a name to it. You know how that goes. But I'm here to talk about the book a little bit. I'm here to sign some books for you. If you want to purchase a book, that's up to you, of course. If you don't want to purchase a book and you want a picture, or both, I'd be happy to take pictures with you and sign whatever else you want. But the books are here for sale. It's a really fun book, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But it's I've gone on probably over 100 book signings across the state, probably close to 50 Rotaries up until this point, and I've really had a lot of fun. Just getting to know people, meeting people, telling old stories. They all laugh at my corny jokes. Angie's heard them like 40 times, the same two. But anyway, it's been so much fun. We've been everywhere, and when I say we, Angie and I usually go to the ones on the eastern side, and then I go with my author for the rest of them. Aaron Pudsey's his name. But we've been about everywhere but Keokuk and Orange City. I think those are the only two spots we haven't hit. We got to get down to Keokuk at some point in time. So it's good to be here in Muscatine. I have this book out, and for you Hawkeye fans, it's really been a rewarding experience. I never really thought it'd be this rewarding, to be quite honest. But 4+ years ago, I met this gentleman named Aaron Pudsey, and he happens to be a sponsor for what I do on a daily living. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Iowa Sports Foundation, as John introduced me. We're all about health and wellness, sports and recreation statewide. We're very proud to say we have 99 counties of participants in one of our health programs of some sort, or sports programs. We touch about 200,000 lives, including children, statewide. We're the biggest of its kind nationally. We're very proud to say that. Never say never in life. For you Cyclones, you're going to love this. I'm a Hawkeye, and my office is in Ames, Iowa. Go figure that, right? Anyway, it's been a great relationship, really getting to know all the schools in the state. And we have a great relationship with Iowa State and Jamie Pollard. Jamie and Pollard and I are good friends, and they give us a lot of great facilities on their campus. And have you heard of the Iowa Games? That's what we're a part of. You know, Iowa Games just finished their 32nd year. We just finished our 32nd year of summer games. We're about to enter into winter games shortly in Dubuque, Cedar Rapids, and Iowa City coming up in January. So we're really ramping and gearing up for that. We'll have about 4,000 athletes in that. So we're really fired up about that, of all these Olympic-style sports. But we also have senior games, as John mentioned. We have corporate games. That's going to be something in the future that we're going to talk to all of you about in the community, because we have opened up the Des Moines corporate games where companies fight it out for a trophy, and they embedded it in their health and wellness programs. We had 61 companies in Des Moines participate. We're about to open up corridor games, along the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City corridor, and then from there we want to branch off to separate communities like over a weekend. And Muscatine is definitely a target of ours with all the great companies you have in this town. So keep that in mind. That's down the road a little bit. This summer is our Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and then maybe 2020, 2021, we're going to start venturing in the communities with that. So it's been a lot of fun. We also have Adaptive Sports Iowa, which is a sports and recreation for people with physical disabilities. And I'm glad we have that pillar. I've had history with disability in my family. And we have wheelchair-bound athletes playing soccer, basketball, skiing. We have a RAGBRAI team of vision-impaired blind riders and hand cyclists that go all the way across Iowa. And it's really a unique group, an amazing group, very motivational group. And we had about 80 riders this past summer. It's probably the most visible team on RAGBRAI. Anybody ever done RAGBRAI? Well, it's a mess, right? I mean, it's a lot of fun though, but with all the riders. But you may have seen some of our athletes along the way. But I'm very proud that we're part of that. So that's what I do daily. I work the Big Ten Network in the fall. I just finished up my fall. I go from August to December. Just finished that up, and I go to the studio every weekend and do some games as well. Hopefully you tune into that. I'm here to talk about the book. This book is really about my career, but it's wrapped around the resurgence of Iowa football under Hayden Fry. That's what it's really about, and how he did it. And it's just amazing how he did it. When you go on in life and you think, man, how did he do that? And every year you add on and you go, man, what an amazing thing that he did when he took over from he was at North Texas, and he convinced his staff who did not want to go to Iowa. Iowa was one of the worst jobs in the country at the time, bottom of the barrel, and he talked his staff, his wonderful staff, into going with him to this great place in Iowa, and turned it around and grinded it out from going from a doormat to #1 in the nation in 1985. And that's really where the book takes you. In fact, the very first chapter of the book is when we were #1 in the nation in 1985, and Michigan was #2. Anybody remember that? See that game? Who was there that day? Great. Well, I'm glad a bunch of you raised your hand, because that crowd by far was the greatest crowd I've ever been a part of. And I played in the NFL. I coached for 18 more years. I was on a national championship with Oklahoma with Bob Stoops. That crowd was never duplicated again in my lifetime. It was a very special crowd to me, and it gives me goosebumps to think about that day. But very first chapter takes you right to that game, and Aaron Putsey, the author, does a tremendous job of writing this chapter. The mist in the air, you guys remember, a little rain in the air, Musco lighting, you know Musco, they were brought in their lighting. They were at the beginning of their company, and it was just an amazing day. And 1 versus 2 didn't happen very often. It was in the middle of the year. It was the first time since the 40s that happened. And all week long, you could cut the tension with a knife. It was the LA Times from the New York Times were on campus. Brent Musburger was coming to town. He was in his heyday as an announcer. It was the game of the week. Michigan, of course, had their legendary Bo Schembechler as their head coach, and a guy named Jim Harbaugh, quarterback. And they came to town, and the beauty of the story, and I'll share one of the little stories, little nuggets, and it's funny, but we always wondered what Hayden Fry was going to do to cut the tension on his football team, because he always wanted to play some kind of joke or practical joke or get inside the head of the opposing coach. And he loved getting inside the head of Bo Schembechler. He just knew how to do that. The pink locker room drove Bo Schembechler crazy. But anyway, so it's a pregame warm-up, and we needed something to loosen us up, because we were all tight and tense. We just had 18 to 22-year-old kids, and get this huge game, biggest game in Iowa history. And they come to town. Well, Bo Schembechler always had his Michigan hat on and his sunglasses. You remember great Bo Schembechler chewing his gum, had his big M on his sweater, and he's standing on the sideline on a 30-yard line watching his team warm up in the pregame warm-up. And Hayden sends over a fake long snapper and our starting punter right in front of him. And this fake long snapper was snapping the ball into the ground, over the guy's head, into the ground, over the guy's head. And Schembler is watching this going, Coach Ryan, come on over here. Coach comes over. You're not going to have this long snapper snap to your punter today, are you? We don't plan on punting today, Coach. Coach Ryan, I can't believe you did that to me. You always do that to me. Now, legend has it, he went up to the locker room for his final talk to his team. Schembler did. And if it wasn't pinned down to the ground, he threw everything he could against the wall. He was that mad. So we knew we got inside Bo Schembler's head that day. And of course, that game, as it unfolds in the chapter, he takes you through every detail of it. You guys in the crowd will love it. If you weren't there, it'll take you right there. And how we were down 10-9 with a 2-minute drive. And we go on a 2-minute drive down to the 26-yard line. And our legendary kicker, Rob Houghton, who is a great story in himself, a guy that tried out his freshman year, got cut. He came back the next year, improved, made the team as a walk-on, earned a scholarship, and then kicked the biggest kick in Iowa football history. And incidentally, he lives in Michigan today. He beat Michigan, lives in Michigan. Go figure, right? But I'll never forget Rob Houghton on the sideline telling everybody on that timeout, guys, I got this, don't worry about it. And he rolls out there and he prays over the tee, boom, they line it up, snap it, kicks it right through. We'll never forget the elation and emotion of that crowd that day, never. It seemed like you guys hung around the whole weekend, and I think we all went downtown together too. It was that much fun. But it was really, doesn't have a crowd like that ever again. And you always think you're going to get those moments again, but just those are the rare moments you remember in life. And so the chapter 1 starts off that, and then it goes back to my career a little bit, and goes through how I grew up. I was actually born in Norman, Oklahoma. Not a lot of people know that. I'm a Boomer Sooner. Are there any Boomer Sooners in here? I grew up a Boomer Sooner, I should say that. I'm a Hawkeye now. But my parents I'm from the Okies. I'm an Okie. I grew up on fried catfish, black-eyed peas, cornbread, fried okra. That's what I grew up on. Anybody have okra? I can never find okra around here. But anyway, that's what I grew up on. My mom's from Ponca City. My dad's from Norman. So my side of the family are Okies. But we moved up to Wheaton, Illinois when I was 3. You guys know where Wheaton is? The western suburb of Chicago, of course, about 30 miles along the train track there. And it was a great town to grow up in. It's a rich football town, 10 state championships between 2 high schools right now. We won the first one in 1979. I was a junior quarterback. And we won the game, and it was our first of the city. And I set an Illinois state record that day will never be broken. I threw for -3 yards in that football game. So if you have youngsters out there, they throw for -3, keep them going, okay? But because of that, I was not heavily recruited. In fact, our high school, we threw the ball 4 to 5 times a game in high school. That was it. We had a legendary coach, though, a Hall of Fame coach. Well, what did we do? We rushed the football. We ran for 300 yards a game, and we played great defense, and that's how we won. And we believed in that system. Well, I didn't think I was going to get recruited at all. I had no idea what my next step was going to be. Back then you really didn't think about it. You just kind of lived each day as it comes and see what happens. And I'll never forget my very first phone call that changed my life forever. And it was December of my senior year. I was finished playing football in high school forever. Just started basketball practice. I was a free sport athlete. Just started basketball practice. And it was a Monday. And I came home on a Monday night, and I got this phone call that changed my life forever, and it was from the great Bill Snyder, who just retired at Kansas State. I had the honor and privilege of having 2 Hall of Fame coaches coach me at Iowa, Hayden Fry and Bill Snyder. Not too many guys can say that. So I was very blessed. But anyway, I get this call from Bill Snyder. He's very monotone. I don't know if you ever met Bill, but Bill's a very monotone guy, especially on the phone. I Chuck there. I said, this is Coach Bill Snyder of the University of Iowa football, and if you're interested, we'd like to bring you in on an official visit this weekend. Come on, Tom, is this you? I thought it was my buddy Tom. No, it's not Tom. It's Coach Bill Snyder of the University of Iowa football. Didn't even miss a beat, and we'd like to bring you in this weekend on an official visit if you're interested. I said, sure. So I get off the phone. I'm first in our family. We've never been through this. My dad said, who is that? I said, well, it's this coach from Iowa. They want to fly me in this weekend. Well, are they going to pay for it? I said, I think so, Dad. I think they're going to pay for it. So he drives me to O'Hare Airport. I fly into Cedar Rapids. I get picked up by John Streif, if you know John, legendary trainer there. We go to the IRP, the Iowa River Power Company. Who's been there? I had a prime rib that night, biggest prime rib I've ever seen in my life. I wanted to be a Hawkeye right on the spot. But anyway, we were at the IRP, and I met the wonderful staff at Hayden Fry, and I'll never forget meeting all those guys. Uh-oh, did it run out? The battery ran out, I think.
You're loud.
Hello?
You're loud.
I'm loud.
Yeah.
I'm good. I talk a lot, so the battery runs out. I'm good. You guys can hear me okay, right? So, anyway, so I get this, we go to the IRP, and I met this wonderful staff, which includes about it's going to be 5 collegiate football Hall of Famers as a coaching staff. You got Barry Alvarez, he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. You got Dan McCarney, who's in the Iowa State Hall of Fame, might have a shot at the College Hall of Fame. Hayden's already in the Collegiate Hall of Fame. Bill Snyder's already in it. He just retired. Oh, there's Kirk Ferentz, he's on that staff. And then a young Bob Stoops is a GA. He was a player in a GA. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame as well. 5 guys. I'm proud to say that Hayden Fry right now has the #1 college football tree in the history of the game right now as we speak. He's had 29 head coaches. Next in line are Bobby Bowden of Florida State and the great Bear Bryant of Alabama with 26. Now that could be broken by a Nick Saban tree or a Urban Meyer tree, but right now Hayden is #1. And it's really, really cool because, hey, we're little old Iowa. How's that happen, right? But anyway, Hayden, that's the legend of Hayden Fry. So I meet this wonderful staff on a Friday at the IRP. I wanted to be a Hawkeye in the spot. I wanted to go to Iowa bad. I just loved the people right away. I said, this is for me. I'll never forget calling my parents that night. Oh, I want to be here so bad. And my dad's always funny. He goes, well, son, you're going to see more prime rib than that, okay? So relax a little bit. Well, back then, you didn't know whether you're going to be offered a scholarship or not until Sunday. So you went through the whole weekend, and then they would, entertain you, and they get to know you, and then Sunday rolled around, and Hayden would bring you in his office. You either heard the magic words of a scholarship offer, or you were sent home and you're not going to have an offer. And that's how it was back then. Well, I get in there on a Sunday. I didn't know. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know why I was there. What were they looking at? We threw the ball 4 to 5 times a game. I didn't have any statistics at all. And I was like, okay, now let's just go with this deal. So I get in there on Sunday, and I'm hoping to get offered. He sits me down. I'll never forget him saying this. Now, we're coming off 20 losing years in a row, okay? And he sits me down. He says, Charlie, he called me Charlie because he loved my dad. My dad was Charlie. Charlie, this is what we're going to do. We're gonna offer you a scholarship because we're going to turn this thing around here in Iowa, and we're going to turn it around this year, and we want you to be a part of it. I was flabbergasted. I said, okay, Coach, what does that mean, a full ride scholarship? He goes, well, Charlie, they're going to take care of everything. We're going to take care of room, board, books, tuition, everything. I go, really? He goes, yeah. I go, okay. I thanked him, and I was excited, and I fly home. My dad picks me up, and he goes, son, how'd it go? I said, Dad, they've offered me a full ride scholarship. He goes, really? What does that cover? I said, room, board, books, tuition. He goes, have they seen you play, son? My dad was a great guy, don't get me wrong. He was a great guy. I go, I know, Dad, it sounds kind of far-fetched. He goes, but they did. And he goes, well, I only did Hayden Fry on the phone and confirmed that tonight. So we got Hayden on the phone and confirmed it, and changed my life forever. I always wanted to be a Hawkeye, and it was the greatest moment of my life. And I got here in 1981, and that was our turnaround season, 1981. And I didn't play much. I was just a greenhorn, watching it from the sidelines. I had a couple snaps here and there, but I watched this beautiful plan of Hayden Fry unfold right before my very eyes as a freshman. And we kept it going with a Peach Bowl victory the next year, and then we went to the Gator Bowl, then we went to the Freedom Bowl, and then I finally had a chance to be a Rose Bowl quarterback in on the Big Ten championship team. It was not always fun and games or glory. My very first start in 1982, I mentioned the -3 in a state championship game. My very first collegiate start in 1982 was at Nebraska, and they had a good football team. We had a young football team. We were starting over, and we went out there. It was a sweltering hot day, about 120 on the field, and guess what? We're losing 42-0 in the middle of the fourth quarter. And we are getting pounded, and I was getting pounded. I threw interceptions, I got pounded, I fumbled the ball. It was a disastrous start. Now keep in mind I had 20 family members there. Both sets of grandparents from Oklahoma were there. And I'll never forget my little old southern Oklahoma accent grandma said, Chuck, when I walked out of the stadium, Chuck, you don't have to play this game of football anymore if you don't want to. So I don't know whether she was telling me didn't want to get hurt or I wasn't very good, one of the two. But anyway, I'll never forget her saying that. I said, Grandma, give me a chance. That's only one game. But middle of the fourth quarter, I call a timeout. I get to the sideline, and Hayden is livid. He's looking at me, Charlie, why are you calling a timeout? He points to the clock. Keep the clock running. This game's over with. I proceeded to throw up all over his white pants and white shoes. And he benched me right on the spot. It's always a good lesson for youngsters that you know. Tell him Chuck Long threw for -3 and then threw up on his coach his very first start, so in case they have a bad game, okay? But anyway, that's how it all started, but it ended in a much better way. I kept at it, kept working at it. Anyway, that book takes you through all those funny little stories, and it's really been an exciting career for me. I've gone full circle. As I said at the beginning, I consider myself an Iowan now. I've gone full circle, working with Angie a lot close. Angie's also my manager. She manages all my speaking engagements. If you're interested with your company, come see her about that as well. She's like the jack of all trades here, but she manages my calendar, speaking engagements and appearances, as well as she basically runs the Iowa Football Club, which is a private club of about 500 strong. She's a resource development. She's always setting up the tailgates and tearing them down and all that kind of thing. And she's well organized, so she does a lot for us, and can't thank of her enough. But anyway, this book is about that, about my career, and I've gone full circle back to a great state. I love being back here. I love the people here. And I didn't think, I was in coaching for 18 years, and when you're in coaching, you never know where you're going to be. And I didn't think I was going to get back here until I'm in my 70s and retirement years or whatever. And I happened to come back a lot earlier than that, at 50. And so it's really worked out for me to come back here and live here permanently and full-time and not have to worry about the coaching world. There's a little bit more pressure in the coaching world. I'll give you an example of that. I was a coordinator at Oklahoma under Bob Stoops. We were at the top of the college football world from 2000 to 2005. I think we were 67-6. We lost 2 home games. We won a national title, went to 2 others, and we lost 2 home games in 6 years. I was the play caller. After the first home loss, I had 6 for sale signs in my front yard the next day. As you go down south, the football pressure goes up. And I said, well, at least there's not a moving truck out there, so I think I was in good shape. But it gives you an idea. I love the Iowa fans. Stay true to your school, although I think everybody roots for one another except for one game. That's not always the case in every state. Oklahoma, for example, is very bitter rivalry there. But you guys don't put for sale signs in coaches' yards, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I love being back here, not having the pressure of coaching. I like to watch it with the Big Ten Network and let all those other coaches sweat it out. And I sleep a lot better. I'm eating a lot better. I'm trying to stay healthy, and of course I'm promoting health and wellness in my own foundation. And that's my day job. That's my main job, and the Big Ten Network's on the side. But I've had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with football. Football's taken me all around the world. And it's been a great thing in my life, and I was just one of those guys that really didn't set a lot of goals. I just played hard every day, worked hard every day, and see what happens the next day when I got to that day, and it all worked out in a great way. And I'm excited to be back and telling you this story. I want to open up for questions. Any questions about anything? I want to make sure I do that, give you enough time to ask some questions. Yes, sir.
Can you give us some outline of your NFL experience?
Oh, NFL experience. Well, I played for Detroit for 7 years and the LA Rams for 1. Any Lion fans in here? I never get. Viking fans? Bear fans? Packer fans? Chief fans? All right, I kind of covered most of it. Cowboys. Steelers. I see the Steelers. They had a great victory. Memorial Weekend, yeah. Beat the Pats. That was a heck of a. Yeah, my experience, I'll give you an idea. My very first start in the NFL was a Monday Night Football, Detroit versus Chicago. Bear fans again, raise your hand. Yeah, back in the 80s, right? They were fierce. Their front seven was as good as anybody in the history of the game. You remember those guys? Refrigerator, Dan Hampton, Richard Dent, Steve McMichael in front four. Then you had Wilbur Marshall, Otis Wilson, outside linebackers, and a guy named Singletary in the middle. They were vicious. So I'd be watching this film. I finally get my start. It's week 14. Coach brings me in on a Monday after we lost. The owner wants me in there. Get the rookie in there. Chuck, I got good news and bad news. I said, what? What's the good news? You're going to start this week. It's a great opportunity for you. It's a Monday Night Football. I go, what's the bad news? Well, it's against the Chicago Bears. And when you watch the film, don't get scared. That's what he told me. So I'm watching the film that day and all week long, and I'm telling you, and this is no exaggeration, they are crushing the quarterback all week long on film. I'd see one quarterback in there, and then I see another quarterback in there the same game. I go, uh-oh. This is going to be rough. They're putting these guys out of the game. So I get to the game finally. Very first pass play, I fade back, and I got sacked by Dan Hampton and Richard Dent. Right now. They were on me like that. I'm like, oh my God. So I get sacked, and Dan Hampton, they're all pro, three technique, defensive tackle, great player, picks me up off the ground. If you know anything about football, defensive linemen never pick a quarterback off the ground. That's sacrilege. They don't do that. So I'm thinking, oh man, what a nice gentleman this guy is. Pulls me in close. I'll say the four-letter words. He pulls me and says, hey, Law, we're going to kill you tonight. We do this to everybody, though. Don't worry about it. You'll be sore for a week, but we're going to crush you good tonight. Good luck to you. That's exactly what he said to me. They let me go. I go, oh, geez, this is going to be a long night. So I just wanted to get through the night. We actually lost on a last-second field goal by Kevin Butler that night. So we played him pretty tough that night. Anyway, that's a little idea of how Detroit went. But I got 8 years in, and I lived to tell about it. I'm speaking okay today, right, guys? Although Angie does a lot of hard work, so I try to take her out to dinner every now and then, show my appreciation. And I took Angie 3 weeks ago or so. It's kind of a wintery mix going on outside, and so I took her to this restaurant. Picked her up about a half hour away, and we had a great night. It was actually Duck City. You guys been to Duck City? So we go down to Duck City, and then we go back, and I'm dropping her off, and she gets this look on her face. I go, what's wrong? She goes, you're going to be so mad. I go, why? She goes, I left my phone at the restaurant. I go, you got to be kidding. I said, get back in the car. So I got her in the car, and I'm gripping the steering wheel, cussing under my breath. I was so mad. Wasn't I mad? I was so mad. And she goes, I'm sorry. So we get all the way down to the restaurant. She grabs my arm. She goes, man, I'm so sorry. I'll go get my phone and be right back. I said, get my coat and hat while you're in there, too. I would never swear at Angie, guys. I love Angie. Anyway, just a little joke for you. But I've had a good time, and it's been so much fun. But like I said, I lived through it. It's gotten a lot safer. Way safer than when I played. So some of you guys probably may have hesitation of your kids playing the game of football and grandkids. It's become a lot safer game. So if they want to play, let them play, unless you're really against it. It's so much different than it is today. And even when you're watching an NFL game, it's so much different. The safety is really entered into it, and it will continually be safer as they move on.
Chuck?
Yes.
Could you explain for the group the answer to the question I asked you about the throw to Harmon?
Yeah, Roger brought up a moment in my career that not many, it's actually the first time someone's brought this up, probably in 15, 20 years, but it was in the Peach Bowl, And you know, you'd rather be lucky and good, but in the Peach Bowl, we won the Peach Bowl in 1982, and that was our first victory, bowl victory for Iowa since the 50s, since 58. So it was a monumental game for us, and we played Tennessee, and they had a good team. They had Reggie White on that team. They had Willie Galt, for you Bear fans, on that team. So it was a really good Tennessee team, and we had a hot night. In fact, that Tennessee game, and I started all year long, except for that throw-up incident against Nebraska. I basically started all year long, and I still really didn't feel great about me as a quarterback in the Big Ten. I was just struggling through this year, but we ended up 7-4. And finally in the Peach Bowl, I felt like I arrived. We had a hot night. I had a hot night throwing the ball, and I felt like coming out of that game, oh my gosh, I finally feel like I can play in this league. That's how long it took me to feel confident. But anyway, in that game, I was scrambling out of the pocket. We're on about the 20 going in, and it was an early down, so I was just throwing the ball away. I mean, I was just kind of throwing it in the back of the end zone, just trying to throw the ball away to save the sack. And this bullet named Ronnie Harmon came out of nowhere. He was a receiver then. He was a receiver for 2 years and then a running back, and great at both of them. And he came out of nowhere and caught that ball in the back of the end zone. That's what Roger was talking about. And when he caught it, came out of nowhere, I went, oh my God, how did he do that? Because I didn't even see him. I was just throwing the ball. Rather be lucky than good, right? Good question, good moment in my career. That was a lot of fun. Thanks, Roger. Anybody else? Yes.
How's your dad? Is he still following?
My dad's passed away in 08, but my mom is still alive. She's 81 and lives with my brother Andy. My brother was born with cerebral palsy, and they live in Wheaton. So I'd go to Wheaton every week in the fall and stay with my mom. So that's been a blessing for me to see my mom and my brother. Any Chicago Cub fans?
Sure.
All right. Well, my brother's watched every Chicago Cub inning since 1984. So Game 7 against Cleveland, I'm going to get on that couch. I'm going to watch I hope they win, because I'm going to film my brother going crazy, right? So you know how that game was. Rain delay, we're all on the edge of our seat. Oh my God. So finally the last out, Cubs win. Now my mom is old school. She has this little TV set that fits right in her cabinet so she can close the cabinet doors so no one can see it. But it's only a little TV. It's 30-inch TV. So I'm like, all right, they're on the couch. Here's the TV. We pull it out. And the last out, my brother's going crazy, jumping off the couch. It's priceless, everybody. Priceless. In fact, you could probably YouTube and find it. So I'm filming my brother. I'm filming the Cubs rushing the mound. Brother, TV, brother, TV. I sent it out there viral. It had over 100,000 hits of it. Major League Baseball called and wanted the video. I said, you could have it. Well, I have a big Twitter following, about 11,000 people, but I always get these smart alecks on my Twitter. They're fun. They're funny. So this guy tweets back to me, you know, Chuck, that's a great video, motivational, so much fun, but can't you buy your mom a better TV set? So anyway, I thought I got a kick out of that one. But yeah, thanks for asking. They're doing fine, live in Wheaton, live in the same house they've lived in for 40 years. So my mom said, I'm not moving. I go, okay. Any other, Hayden Fry update. 89 years old, lives in Dallas, Texas now. He lived in Nevada for a long time, but he's down there in Dallas now around his entire family. All of his kids are down there, his grandkids. When the book came out, the author, Aaron Putsey, and I should say this about Aaron, a little bit about Aaron. He was raised on a farm in Iowa. I wanted the farm element in the book. I want it woven through the book because, as you remember, in the 80s, farming was going through a hard time. And he brings that out in the book. And he was a great writer for this book, and football and farming. And it's really special that way because Hayden Fry was always in tune with the Iowa farmer. The A&F sticker. He was always in tune with what was going on with the Iowa farmer, and that was important for me to have in that book. But we hand-delivered a book to Hayden at the end of April. So we went down there and hand-delivered this book to him. Kirk Ferris was there, and my author, Aaron Putsey, was so excited to meet the legendary Hayden Fry. He still tells you the same 5 jokes like I do every time, but we laugh each and every time. He believes you'll live a long time if you have a sense of humor. He's always believed that. But anyway, I want to give you a little Hayden update. health is, he's not in great health. He's not in great health, but he's still a wonderful guy to talk to. He writes Angie a note, and he has perfect penmanship. Perfect. It's perfection. But he writes Angie the sweetest notes. I think he likes Angie. Any other questions before we wrap up? I'm about 1 o'clock, hard stop right here, right on time. Anybody else?
Kirk Ferentz, your opinion?
Well, Kirk and I came in together in 1981, so we go way, way back. 20-year head coach, all-time winningest coach in Iowa history. What I love about Kirk is he took the framework from Hayden Fry and built his own personality around it, and it's been a joy and a wonder to watch. How long will he coach? Who knows? But we've had 2 head coaches in 40 years of Iowa football. Nobody can say that. So we'll see what happens in this bowl game. Anybody going? Going to the Outback Bowl? Or are you going to be like me, sitting on the couch watching it? Big screen, high-def TV, popcorn, soda pop. Well, you guys have been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much.